Welcome, listeners, and welcome, Brinkley, to Bold Line. We are so excited to have Brinkley Ruffin on our podcast this afternoon. Brinkley is the Vice President of Talent Acquisition at Universal Parks and Resorts. He is also a graduate of Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia, with a degree in political science and a master's from Clemson in human resources, which is where he is having his career now. He's actually worked in human resources for 20 years. Actually, you certainly don't look old enough to have worked in HR for 20 years. And
Oh,
he is a passionate advocate for arts and social justice. And I am so excited to have you on our podcast today, as well as to have you as a new board member for CareerSource Central Florida. So welcome.
thank you so much, Pam. I'm super excited to spend some time with you. And yeah, I definitely am old enough. You can probably tell by the hair that I've pulled out. In human resources, it's been quite a journey, but a lot of fun.
Yes, well, human resources can have that effect on hair. Also force it to maybe go a little silver or gray too, right?
Right.
But I am really excited to have you on our board of directors, to have you in this podcast, and especially since you are also representing Universal Studios, and it's one of my favorite places to visit. Before
Right.
I even lived in Florida, when I was in Connecticut, I love to come down and listen and visit Universal Studios. And my favorite ride there, I think you know this, is
Yeah,
the Harry Potter,
that's right.
actually
Yeah.
rides, the Harry Potter. There are three there. So I have to ask you, Brinkley, what is your favorite amusement park ride?
Yeah, Pam, it's interesting because it's changed through the years, but I'd have to say now my go-to has got to be the Mummy. Uh,
Oh,
Classic indoor coaster, super fast, super fun. I love the movie series, so it just kind of fits right in. So the Mummy is my go-to right now.
oh, very, very appropriate for October, which is when
Yes.
we're talking, because I remember the Mummy being quite scary too. There was quite a bit of fire
Yes,
in there.
yes.
Yes, yes. But I also love the Mummy. I love all things Egypt and that whole
Same here.
storyline. So yes, that is truly a lot of fun at Universal Studios. So Brinkley, you are very pivotal at this point in time for Universal Studios. Universal is opening a brand new theme park here in Central Florida, Epic Universe. So we want to talk a little bit about that. But first of all, since this is a podcast about learning about career journeys, tell us a little bit about how you ended up in human resources. You have this education in political science. I see you didn't necessarily delve into the political world too
Right,
much, although
right.
there's probably politics inside of human resources. But tell us a little bit about how you ended up in human resources and a little bit more about your career journey.
Absolutely, Pam. So it's funny because when I was coming up, particularly late in high school, I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do long term, and ended up talking with a cousin of mine who was currently at that time at the University of South Carolina, and she started talking about the human resources major at USC, and she said, "Brink, you might be interested in looking at this." And I said, "Well, what is it? What does it entail, and what are the details?" And so she began to talk a little bit about it. And then at the time, I was interested, but then time went by, and I just wasn't quite still sure. My family background, especially my father, he was into he was a judge, and so he was into the political judicial scene, and so coming up through the years, I was very close in that environment, working with government and service through his tenure. Really had a big impact on me in terms of service. So going into Morehouse, which is also his alma mater, I decided to go into political science. And political science, English, and psychology were my three areas of study, with the major in political science. But then as I graduated, my dad actually gave me some advice. He said, "Brinkley, it's always good. You can always help people when you're closer to jobs, when you're closer to helping people with employment." And so early on after my graduation, I started working with the Georgia Department of Labor.
Okay.
And that was my earliest stint in terms of service, job market. employment, and trying to help others find their career paths. So
Mhm.
it really stuck with me. I decided later on to get a master's in human resources, um, but initially started really the influence from my cousin who talked about HR, and then my father who was into the government and political science was his major as well. So I kind of followed that track. But I found a lot of joy in human resources because it's a blend between the legal piece that my father used to explore through his career, but then
Mhm.
also my mother was a retired music teacher, public school music teacher. And so HR gave me the opportunity to also be creative as well. So to
Mhm.
kind of exercise that creative side, and then that very specific, more legal piece of the field as well. So that's kind of how that perfect marriage kind of formed for me.
That's very cool. So I know why I like you so much. We both have this background. I too have a bit of the degree in English as well as
Yeah.
psychology, which is my
Okay.
master's. And then I remember when we first met that you also told me about working for the Georgia Department of Labor. And
Yes.
of course, then you have a little insight into the world of employment services and workforce
Yes.
development, as you know, is part of what CareerSource Central Florida does too. So and you also probably have a sympathetic ear occasionally
Absolutely.
in hearing that. But that's exciting about how that all blended together. So where was your first HR opportunity since you got 20 years of this career behind you now?
Yeah, yeah. So, technically, in the kind of recruiting world, was able to do a little bit of that at the labor department, but then also got into the cable industry shortly after the labor department, and as an HR generalist at the time, kind
Mhm.
of touched everything HR. So, employment law, recruiting, employee relations. Um, Especially work culture became very interesting to me, and
Mhm.
growth and development. So in terms of helping others with their growth and development. So just as I continue to try to build skills, I'd never followed income. I never followed promotion, but I kind of followed the opportunities and followed the learning. And
Mhm.
what I've found is when you add those skills to your tool belt, you're then in position to leverage mobile growth in terms of vertical promotions and things of that nature. But if the focus is always on the next step from a promotions perspective, I see sometimes that can cloud the vision, and it's a great thing just to focus on skill building, and then the other pieces kind of fall into place when you continue to increase your value to that employer and to those you serve.
Yes, that is spot on. You know, you really described an important aspect of building your career to not necessarily chase more money or chase promotions, but to actually intentionally build skill and things that you love to do. And the opportunities will find you more or
Right.
less, right? Because you had built skill from what you said in the Department of Labor and then could translate and transfer that ability over into a private sector utilities kind of a
Mhm.
company. And
Exactly.
now in a private sector amusement and
Right.
hospitality company, I'm sure our listeners are going to be fascinated to hear about some of the aspects of human resources inside of a big place and fun place like Universal Studios. So tell us a little bit about your job now and then if you would be so kind as to tell us a little bit about the plans for Epic Universe.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'll start with I've been with Universal for a decade now in December, so I'm super proud and excited about that. And the great thing about working in a large organization is that you can do several things even within a function without leaving the company.
Mhm.
And so when I initially came to Universal, I was more so on the employee relations side, HR business partner side, and then actually worked a little bit in the diversity, equity, and inclusion space before coming to the talent acquisition space,
Mhm.
all within Universal. So a lot of times you may have to in smaller organizations change change areas or move or change companies to get those different views, but the unique thing for me in Universal, I was able to get that in one place.
Mhm.
And I think that's one of the things that kind of helps me in the talent acquisition field here at Universal, because I can speak to different types of opportunities from firsthand experience. So for me, for example, as an HR business partner, I was able to support what we call our back of house, which includes our support organizations, sales, marketing, parks technology, human resources, to understand how we support the business, but then
Mhm.
also was able to later support our what we call front of house, which is what you see, Pam, when you come to the park and you see the food and beverage operations, you see revenue operations, you see the park attendants. So I was able to support that group as well. So now coming to talent acquisition and having exposure and experience servicing kind of both ends of the house, so to speak, the
Mhm.
conversations can be very eclectic, very broad in terms of describing the experiences here at Universal. And I've gained a terrific respect for the work on all sides of that, because all of them can be challenging, but yet all of them are very rewarding in different ways.
Yes, you just actually covered what's really unique about the theme park industry, and that there are all kinds of jobs, as you said, in the back of the house and the front of the house, that I think a lot of individuals, young or old, are not really familiar with. They,
Right.
of course, know the jobs that they see when they walk into a park
Yes.
and have that experience, but it really takes a lot more effort and a lot more people in jobs to make that experience incredible when you go to the theme park. And for me, when I go and ride the train between the two Harry Potter theme park attractions,
Mhm.
and have that experience of actually feeling like I'm on the train going from one place to another, it really takes a whole host of professionals, from
Yes.
technical engineers, from maintenance engineering and technicians, to
Yes.
the guest theme park people that are out there dressed, on the platform, as well as the people that hired them, like you,
Right.
or your staff, and then also probably at times take care of them and their human resources benefits, right? So
Yes.
it's an entire army, literally, of people that stand behind one experience for someone in a park like that, which is one of the things that we at CareerSource are very interested in getting young people in particular to
Yes.
understand, that there are a lot more job opportunities and career pathways at Universal beyond just being a guest services person. So
Absolutely.
that is
Absolutely.
so cool. That
Yeah,
is so cool.
in fact, Pam, you hit the nail on the head in terms of a big part of what I do today in talent acquisition is
Mhm.
educating the market
Mhm.
on those opportunities. Because when you look at the job opportunities that we have, we've got everything from a legal expert or attorney all the way to culinary experts and dinosaur trainers. We've got it all. So a lot of it is about educating the market on not only what you see when you come to the park and the roles that exist there,
Mhm.
but everything that goes behind the scenes to support and set it up and to run it, that is a small city. So when you think about all the jobs that may be in a city, that's what we have here at Universal. So when we say growth and opportunity, it's really about how you define that for yourself. You can
Mhm.
find your path, and part of what we do from an HR support perspective is to help you. We just don't drop you in the park and you have to figure out which way to go, but we try to
Right.
help you navigate that through some career mapping that's very customized and strategic.
That's very cool. That's very cool. Cool is my word, but it really says to me like how amazing these opportunities are. Oh, by the way, my little Pomeranian may join us every now and again. He's like barking a little bit.
He's welcome.
He's kind of part of the Bold Line podcast at this point. So,
Understood.
so tell us about Epic Universe, and the excitement around that, and when it's opening, and when we'll be getting to go to those new experiences.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Epic is very exciting for all of us, and I can't tell you all my secrets. I don't want to get
Okay.
ahead of too much,
Oh, just a little bit, a little
but
bit.
but what I can say, there've been a lot of people hard at work with planning and organizing and strategy to really make sure that the final product that is ready to go and ready to show and tell is really top notch and a really immersive experience
Mhm.
like no other. And certainly from the work that I've seen, I can't wait. I'm super excited, not just because of what it will do to Central Florida from a attraction perspective and what it adds in terms of value to the area and what people can do from an entertainment standpoint, but also the employment boost that it will also give in terms of the
Mhm.
job opportunities that we have associated with Epic Universe. So there are many reasons to be excited about it from a destination perspective, but
Mhm.
there's also a huge drive of excitement from an employment perspective that from a HR perspective really makes me excited. Uh,
Yes.
yeah.
We actually, I know, I think it was last week in September, and probably as we roll into the next few months, CareerSource Central Florida, actually, we had Epic Universe hiring in all of our physical career
Yes.
centers across our region, as well as on our virtual platform. And we're working hard with you and your
Yes.
team
Yes.
to outreach to our community and let them know about all these great opportunities. As you think about talent acquisition, and we're talking about thousands of jobs, right? We're really talking about thousands of jobs. What do you think is really critical for listeners to understand about hiring for a big scale effort like opening Epic Universe?
Yeah. So, and also, Pam, want to co-sign. Not only is Career Source helping, but they're doing an awesome job with
Oh, well, thank
helping
you.
us with pipeline talent.
Thank you.
But what I would say from a large employer perspective, and certainly with what Epic Universe represents to the Central Florida area, there's not been a theme park of this size and this magnitude opened over the last maybe 15, 20 years.
Mhm.
So for people to be a part of that history, I think is a draw and is a terrific piece to really cling on to and be a part of. So in addition to, yes, employment and having a career and working somewhere that you love, also being a part of history, I think is a big part of the drive as well. And so when we think about specifically Universal and we think about, well, why would someone want to come to Universal? We talk about three things. We say we think it's our people, it's our stories, and it's our future. And what we mean by that, Pam, is when we say people, if you talk to anyone who's been at Universal for several years, they will talk about what keeps them coming back are the relationships that they formed with their coworkers, with their teams, and it's the people that draw them back every single day. When we talk about our stories, we talk about the career stories we talked a little bit about, but we also talk
Mhm.
about the stories we get to shepherd our guests through the park to tell in
Mhm.
terms of our IP and the immersive experiences. There's a lot of pride that our team members have by sharing and telling those stories in the park. And when we say our future, yes, we're talking about Epic, we're talking about growth, but also thinking about being connected to NBC, being connected to Comcast. There are a lot of different, when we say opportunities, there are a lot of different ways to be a part of that. Again, without shifting and leaving companies. So we're really proud of that and really excited about what Epic continues to bring in terms of that growth potential.
I love what you said about history, because I think I shared with you that I lived in Brevard County, Florida,
Yes.
when Universal Studios opened up. And I do have this incredible emotional reaction and response to Universal, because I remember it being at that time a theme park opening after, others had opened around, and it was that same excitement. I think we feel that now are on Epic Universe. And I have so many amazing memories with my children in going to Universal Studios and experiencing, well, some rides that aren't there anymore, but
Right, right.
some that are. I have incredible memories, of Back to the Future. That was one of my favorites. Now, the
Absolutely.
Simpsons ride, right? It's now
Yeah.
Simpsons ride. But I really do think you really hit an important point that for Central Florida, these are gems. They are amazing pieces of our history.
Yes.
And, Epic is now the next chapter in that history. So give us just a little idea of when sort of we can think about it opening, and why people are going to be really excited to go to the new park.
Yeah, yeah. Well, just in terms of the win, what I can safely say is 2025 is
Ah,
when it will open. So
well,
I'll keep,
soon. That's
yeah,
soon.
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
I will keep it there, and we're super excited about that. There are some big announcements coming soon, so stay tuned.
Okay.
But I think in terms of why people should be excited is, it's more than just giving people another option,
Mhm.
to have fun. But it is, again, it's theme parks and themed industry. It's so much part of the Central Florida and Florida culture, right?
Yes.
So adding to that, anytime you can add to that, I think it's a win for the consumer. It's a win for the guest, and not just in Florida, but certainly worldwide.
Mhm.
So our goal is to provide experiences that people can relate to, people can enjoy, people can feel a part of. So visiting Universal and thinking about it from an immersive standpoint, everything from the queue line to when you complete the attraction to going through the store, all of that is an experience, and it's one experience. And for that moment, whether it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour, we want you to feel like you are a part of that story. So it's not something that's happening to you, it's something that you're a part of. And from an employment perspective, you get to help tell that story. You get to help people feel that experience.
Mhm.
And that's the payback that our team members get. The enjoyment, the smiles, the laughter, the giggles, that's the payback that our team members get from the guests when they have these terrific immersive experiences.
That's exciting. Well, I know it will be soon, because we are working very hard alongside you to get ready for that park opening. And as you look, at Central Florida, you've really touched on the fact that this park opening, we are a driver for the whole state of Florida.
Yes.
Last year we had 73 million people visit here.
Yes.
Many of them came to Universal Studios. This coming year in 2025, many of them, or if not more, will visit Epic Universe. So it
I hope
really is
so.
an extraordinary economic driver, not just for the region, but for the entire state. And on the flip side, what you also said really resonated with me, in that people are a part of a story
Yes.
when they experience things at the park. I recall that, and I think that's why I kind of have that emotional connection, because Universal Studios is about the movies, and you
Yes.
actually get to be a part of the movie, a part of the mummy, for
Yes.
example, as you said earlier. So as you look ahead, what do you see for Brinkley in the next 5-ish years?
Yeah, well, it's funny. I always look at the personal and professional. So I'm super
Okay.
excited from a personal perspective. I have a senior in college and a senior in high school right
Oh
now.
my.
So in 5 years from now, I can't imagine, but they will be young adults, kind of in a totally different world themselves. So my first job title is dad and father.
Yes.
So I'm super excited about that. My second is husband. And
Mhm.
then from an employment perspective, as I mentioned, our connectivity in parks with NBC, with Comcast, it really creates a broad landscape of possibilities. And so my trajectory through HR has allowed me to kind of see the game from a few different seats, and I've
Mhm.
enjoyed that. And that collective view has helped me at each stop
Mhm.
be the best professional that I can. But for me, it's really about skill building. It's really
Mhm.
about understanding, and this is how I advise people who have career questions. Really find the gap, and in the organization, find the opportunity in the organization, and do your best with the skill sets you have to fill that gap. That's how you provide value. So I will continue to do that personally in terms of where can we get better, what can we tweak, and how can I help that space. And that's kind of what I look for.
I love that. So I think there are also graduations in your future because you have a senior in high school and a senior in college. That it sounds
Yes.
like some parties as well. So if our listeners want to find out more about Epic Universe or about career opportunities at Universal Studios, how do they do that?
Yeah, so the best and most direct thing to do is go to universalorlandojobs.com,
Mhm.
and you will find a plethora of jobs and opportunities there. Also, our that website also offers IP information. It
Mhm.
also offers an opportunity to join our internal community job universe. So
Mhm.
basically, what you can do is get alerts on different career opportunities as they become available. So if you're on the lookout for something for Epic in particular, if
Mhm.
you join our talent universe, you can get notifications, and you can also specify your area of interest. So whether that's finance, whether that's parks technology, whether that's food and beverage, whether that's legal, you
Mhm.
can denote where your interest and where your skill set is, and you can get notifications specific to those opportunities as they come available.
That's really nice.
Mhm.
Yes. And I have seen that website and it is helpful not only in understanding the jobs that are out there, but as to your point, you can actually understand the pathway
Right.
that you might be able to find, within Universal and really pinpoint where you want to be. So I so appreciate you being my guest this afternoon on Bold Line, and thank you again for joining us. This podcast has always been focused on sharing great insights in workforce and connecting people to the things that matter in Central Florida and beyond. Here at CareerSource Central Florida, we are very focused on being brilliant at delivering our service, being innovative and offering solutions to our community, being resilient as an organization, and most of all, leading and inspiring individuals across our region as well as our staff. So thank you again, Brinkley, for joining me this afternoon. And thank you to our listeners. And we look forward to you tuning in to our next Bold Line episode.
Thanks so much for having me, Pam. Really enjoyed it.